5 to 30 minutes on that step of the week, followed by discussion or questions until 7. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting on this day, Monday, March 11, 2024, in Doylestown, at the Monday night, 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Geoff, and he'll be sharing experience on steps 4 and 5. Please help me welcome Geoff.
I'm Geoff, and I am most definitely an alcoholic.
Hey, Geoff.
I'm grateful to be here tonight. You're keeping me sober. It's kind of weird. Today's like the day after the time change, and we're all like kind of like getting caught up on the hour. Messed me up today pretty good. And on the way over here, my mother-in-law's been hospitalized and she's intubated right now, and I'm talking to my wife the whole way over. And 5 years ago, I probably would not have been giving a darn about what was going on. I would think about what I'm going to drink and how to avoid the situation. My sobriety date's October 13th, 2018. I do have a sponsor. I listen to my sponsor, and we go back and forth, and we call ourselves like sponsorees. So we bounce stuff off each other when we're feeling a certain way, or if we're upset about something, and we can always talk about that. At this point, it's more of a peer relationship at this point. Nick got me real early. I was at Percy. I'm now the Percy GSR, although we are transitioning that to another person in the spirit of rotation. But I've been GSR at Percy Group for 5 years, going on 5 years now, and that saved my life. Nick voluntold me to drive a guy for a year. Didn't say for a year, it just turned out to be a year. But he got me driving a guy to meetings. And then right after that, another guy. I drove another guy for another year to meetings and got him to meetings, and it kept me sober. I drank myself out of business. I loved alcohol. I did not want to stop. I've had three seizures as a result of alcohol. The last one resulted in a car accident where I wrecked a car, almost hit a house. I was in a residential neighborhood on my way to work. I lost my job, not as a result of that, but it took a little more time for me to kind of self-destruct even more before I hit bottom. The bedevilments are me to a T. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy, definitely. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people, and I was a mess. I was truly a mess, and I ended up getting fired from place I was working. I pretty much after 2008, when the economy tanked, I drank heavily till like 2010. I was really it really hit my business in 2010 at a marketing and advertising agency, and I did real well, and then a lot of bankruptcies, and then I was like pour, drink, and watched my life start to fall apart. My wife got a job, and then she was working with me and for a longest time, and then she got another job, and I ended up taking a sales position, and I was on the road regularly, like from the Midwest, and on the road I was asked to call on breweries along the way, and that led to an expense account and calling on breweries. So what do? You really amp up the alcoholism. And so where it finally hit me at the end was after the seizure. I got my license back, and I said I'm going to meet with a banker, a friend of mine, at a brewery, and I'm going to have one or two. Well, it was 12 double IPAs later and a flight and something else. I was like white knuckling at home, and I finally had to admit I couldn't stop. I got home, and my wife's like, "You've been drinking again," and I finally said, "I can't stop. I don't know how to stop, and I got to get to AA." because she'd been poking me about it the whole time, but I finally had to admit I was powerless at that point, and that's when I knew I was powerless. But I didn't know any of the steps. I didn't know anything. I was afraid. And so in the meanwhile, before I got fired, I'd gotten on my knees and I prayed to God, and I did like a foxhole prayer. Where do you want? But I asked the right question. I asked, where do you want me, God? And God said, real estate. And so along the way, I got my real estate license. I get fired from my job. My license comes back 2 days later, and I go to my real estate office and I go, well, I guess I'm all in now. So it was like the kick in the butt that I needed to get started. But that, after I admitted I was powerless, and I got to a meeting, it was Sellersville, and I'm in a church. And it would happen to be the night the GSR meeting happened to be there for the district. It was at St. Mike's in Sellersville at the time. And they had the meeting in the regular room where the meeting was supposed to be, and they put the AA meeting in the church sanctuary. So I'm in the church sanctuary. So God wanted me for sure. My higher power wanted me. And then my sponsor now, Bruce, everybody knows Bruce, barefoot, leans over to me and goes, it gets better at the end of the meeting. And I go, what the heck? I don't even know what this is about. Like, I was afraid people were going to recognize me. And then one of my best friends was chairing, her name is Crystal, and I've become very close to her and her family, not in a dangerous way, in a healthy way. Like, I mentored her son along the way, and he passed away in a car accident a little over a year ago. But I got to go to his graduation at Milton Hershey School. Like, that's how close we were. He wanted me at his graduation, and that's what I was honored to be there. But she chaired my first meeting, and she was angry and scary, man. And I was like, she handed me the key for the church when I got to be GSR, and it was black. And I go, this is like, what'd you do? Kill this key? Like, it was like black like your heart or something like that. It was just like, we're just joking around, but we have fun with this. You gotta have some fun and levity in AA for sure. But it was like, I go, this thing's nasty. So, anyways, but it was like, it was good. I along the way, I gained responsibility. I became a GSR, and I got to run a workshop, and I had no idea what I was walking to with a workshop. This man spoke for me at the workshop. AA rallied around me, and it was an amazing process. But and I've really grown along the way in time. But I'm here to talk about steps 4 and 5. And being that I'm in real estate, I kind of wrote some little notes here because I usually don't do that, because when I'm talking, I can talk about alcoholism. But when you're diving into steps 4 and 5, step 4 being a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, and step 5 admitting to God ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. I wrote down, like, I attributed it to a house. I started, like, I'm thinking about this for a while, and I was thinking about, do I use the analogy of a potter's wheel and clay and being formed? Do I use the analogy of, like, what I usually like to say is God's armoring me, so he makes the sword and does, but out of steel, how do you make a sword? You combine different types of metal sometimes, and you form it till it becomes like a unified piece of finished metal. But then I thought about, I'm in real estate, I got to talk about a house. So when I came in before, I'm broken. I'm in disrepair. I'm in the bedevilments. I'm a broken foundation of a house, and the house has fallen down. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are our foundation, right? We rebuild our foundation. I came in, I'm an agnostic. So the agnostics was me. I came in without knowledge of God or a higher power. So I had to rebuild that foundation. I always say my foundation was quicksand. I would just sink. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything about God. I went to church, but I went through the motions. Like, I went because my wife told me to go. Wrong reason, right? Wrong reason. At least for me, it was the wrong reason. So steps 4 and 5 become the framework of the frame of the house, good frame, and 5 becomes like the plumbing and the electrical and all the HVAC and everything that runs the heartbeat of your house, right? Pretty cool stuff. 6, 7, 8, and 9 finish the house. The side, the sheathing, the siding, the roof, the shingles, everything else that's around it. And then 10, 11, 12, maintenance of the house. We got to maintain that house to keep it in good repair. If we don't, we go back into disrepair. We go back, we're flawed. If we skip the steps, we're flawed somewhere along the way. We've got some piece missing. House could fall down. Go back out. Things can happen. So important to maintain that that foundation, the structure, the steps 4 and 5, not skipping things or going back and redoing them and maintaining the house. So for me, the spirit, searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I did it this way. Guys, I'll tell you, I have paper. Like, I did crazy stuff. So I brought paper. Review of my resentments. I did a review of my sex conduct. Yeah. I had a review of my fears. And I had a review of harms other than sexual. Because I hurt a lot of people along the way. I hurt my wife, I hurt my kids, I hurt my parents. I also had a lot of resentments built up as a result of them, too. Because I was like, I was seeking outside attention in the wrong places, in the wrong people. Pride got in the way of my recovery because I'm the most important person in the world, don't you know? I should be respected. I should be all these things. A lot of I statements, went into me and what I became. And if you didn't see things the way I saw them, you were a problem to me. At work and other places. Like at the end I had the seizure and I had to Uber around to get to, I'm in sales. Like I can't sell stuff to people without going in a car somewhere. I had to Uber or get rides from other people. And I couldn't see like what a jackass I was being. And sorry if it's like I was a jerk. And I would blame people for the problems. I would blame other people for the problems that occurred. And nowhere along the line did I look in the mirror and say, like, you're the problem, man. You're the problem. I am the chief source of my own problems. What I want typically, and I've said this to somebody the other day, he goes, well, I want to be out of this recovery house. I want to be this. I want to do that. And I go, maybe you got to take a step back and think about all the I statements that went into that. And I got drunk. I medicated. I sought the attention of other women. I sought to be the center of attention. I sought to be important. I sought to put myself up on a pedestal. And it's a lot different now. I get to help people. I get to be empathetic. I get to care about you. I get to nurture you along the way. I also get to objectively say you're kind of full of it, sometimes too. Like, get over yourself. And I got to get over myself too in a lot of cases. And it's hard sometimes. Like, I had the potential to destroy my marriage. I'm now married 30 years. I definitely I have a good heart, but I didn't always put it in the right places. I didn't always apply myself. And I look at that house now, or I say, like, God's shaping me. God's forming me into a better person. And it took AA to get there. It took me to take a step back and put my pride aside, put my ego aside. Pride is the biggest killer in this program. I swear it is. For me, it is. When my pride, like, I had started, I got into real estate, really had a good success, right? And then I wanted to go and expand, and God said, "Whoop, I'm going to shut your business off for 3 months till you learn a lesson, take a step back." Ooh, that was fun. Not, right? And I started to go and I started listening to things differently. And so I took a step back, joined a team where I'm not the head of it, I'm not in control of it, right? And I'm like, and I said to my wife, I had to do that. I needed to take that step back in order to take a leap forward spiritually and personally. And I can't say it doesn't bother me at times, because it does. Like, I want to be in control, but I had to go, reel it back, wait to listen. So I happen to, hear God moments. I'm at a house, home and garden show in Oaks, And somebody that I know runs a title company, she goes to me, she's like, how's it going with the team? I go, oh, it's okay. I'm doing well. I mean, business is good. Things are good, right? She's like, don't you ever think of starting your own brokerage? Something like that. And I go, well, I don't know. Never really thought about it. I'm in the depth of it right now. She took an hour with me and started telling me like all these things and whispering. And I go, it's a God moment. And I had this vision for affordable housing and things that I want to do in the future and bigger things that are not just making money and putting money in my pocket, like giving back and making a bigger impact on the world. And affordable housing. And Crystal was part of that because I know what her family situation is, and it's been rough. And I go, she's like, no place to live. Like, there's no place that she can afford to go. And I go, I want to create something that's affordable housing situation, along with, if you didn't know that in Bucks and Montgomery County, there's a lot of kids couch surfing to get through high school and stuff. And I found out about a nonprofit. Yeah, kids are going, they'll live at their friend's house to get through high school. Yeah, it happened in Bucks and Montgomery County, definitely. It's called Valley Youth House. So I was talking to a friend of mine. I was at this nonprofit event, and he goes, is there any affordable housing out there? Wink, wink, haha, jokey. And I go, seriously, that's a serious question. And so I left there, and I thought about Crystal, and I thought about container houses and stuff like that. Well, at the show, I'm talking to Mary Beth, my friend, and she's telling me about this brokerage. She said, your nonprofit can be the container houses, the affordable housing. I go, geez, that's heavy stuff. Like, it's God. That's God at work, right? And that's the fearless, we go through that moral inventory, and we start to go through and we start to understand what we're doing here, right? And we're open to listening more to the things that are around us. And then the admitting to God and ourselves into another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Wow. Me? I don't want to talk about my wrongs, my depravity, the depth of my desires or things like that. Like, and me and God, like, we didn't have a very good relationship at first, Like, I went to Villanova, and I'm not Catholic, and I got turned off because they wouldn't let me take communion there, and I got really angry about that. And I got, a buddy of mine's Catholic, he got married, and I got resentful at God because they wouldn't let me take communion there. I had to go just be the usher, and I was like kind of like frozen out. I felt frozen out by God. And I just realized, like, that's like my higher power is a loving, caring God that wants to be in relationship with me. And I got that from my church where I go now. My pastor told me that. He said, God wants to be in relationship to the very, smallest hair follicle in your head to, fingernail, whatever it is, the smallest part of you, God wants to be in relationship with you. And I go, I like that version of God a lot better than the burn in hell version. And that I'm gonna, I sinned, and I'm never going to be forgiven. I like the one that's going to forgive me, love me, and wants to be in relationship with me. And so now I can talk to God, and I can listen to God, and I'm like, okay, it's a loving, fatherly God, okay? And then another human being holds me accountable and shows me the way. My sponsor, at the time, it was Ethan, my friend Ethan, and he is still like kind of a sponsor to me, but Bruce is my sponsor now, truly. But Ethan and I poured all this stuff out, and I was honest, and I was thorough about it. But it doesn't mean that there's still not more to go and continue to go back and revisit that stuff. I got to keep going back and revisiting those things because things crop up. I get resentful. My brother-in-law is spoon-feeding my wife information right now. She's upset, and I had to talk to her all the way over here. I'm like, it's okay. You can feel this way. You're allowed to talk about this stuff. It's healthier to talk about it. Pick up the phone and call. Like, she's afraid to call him, like, because he loses his mind. Something like he's not empathetic. And I go, that's his flaw. You got to pick up the phone and you got to reach out, like, understand and get all the information so that you know everything you can about what's going on with your mom right now. Because they live out in you don't know this. They live out in Las Vegas, so it's like, good flight out there. So it's, and this happened with her father. He didn't tell us a lot of information. Next thing we knew, he was dead on Thanksgiving. And so I'm watching repeat of this again, and I'm like, this isn't good. So, but I got to be there available for my wife, and I got to be able to listen empathetically and provide good, honest feedback. That's what you admit it to somebody other than God into yourself, because if I hold it in, I become Vesuvius. If I bottle all that stuff up, I'm dangerous. I'm going back to my will. If I'm going to God with it, that's cool. My God's going to forgive me. But another person's going to hold me accountable and maybe show me the objective light of it. Just like my friend Mary Beth did for me. She showed me some light professionally and personally at a show. Not in AA, but AA applies to life. In case you guys didn't get it. It's like a way of living. It really is. It's amazing stuff. And this is, take the Alcoholics Anonymous, take the alcoholic out of it, it's like life. Like just make it a rule book for life, 12 steps for life. If you apply that, like so many cool things, like Bruce gives me a hope shell. I get a hope shell. I go to a men's retreat. I get a Men of Malvern pin. I get 5 years and going on 6, and I get to have all these experiences. I get to carry somebody else's cross around it. It's a Catholic retreat, and I'm not Catholic, like I said, but I go there to do the Stations of the Cross, to do the things, to humble myself to God and pray a lot and get more centered, and take 3 days where there's very little communication, like the phone service stinks there. So I get to pray a lot more, and I get to read a lot, and I get to journal a lot more, and I get to get honest with myself. And I brought my son this last year, and it was cool because him and I got to spend time together and talk about a lot of stuff in his life too. He's like 25, just got married. Like, you still don't know everything. 25, you don't know anything, man. You think you do. Think you're all grown up. I didn't know anything. And I'm 57, and I'm still learning. I'm still being shaped. Like, God's not done forming me. This program's not done forming me until I'm in the ground. When then I'm done. I'm finished. But until then, I have room to grow, and every one of you do. Like, we all carry around stuff that bothers us, our resentments, things that annoy us, but we don't have to drink over them. That's the beauty of this program. I don't have to pick up, drink, drug, or do anything I get to live life on, they say life on life's terms. Life's hard sometimes. Not always. Sometimes life's wonderful. Today, this weather, it's fantastic. It's sunny. It was like cloudy, rainy, blustery all night. Like, it sounded like today, a little windy, all right, but it's sunny, and it's warming up, and it's getting better, right? And it's staying light longer. It's going to be, spring's going to be here, and the flowers are going to be blooming. I get to appreciate all that stuff. I get to live a better life as a result of it. And I would say, like, God's not done shaping me. He's not done forming me. He's making me a better version of myself along the way, each and every day. And if I do that, if I do a thorough job at 4 and 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, which are harder, get easier. And then 10, 11, and 12 become like, just, dude, this is routine maintenance, man. Just go in for the oil change, Go check on it. Keep tabs on things. Check in with it. Become a sponsor. Give it away. I'm praying to God every day, like, please pour into me so that I can overflow into others. Game changer stuff, right? Pour into me so I can overflow into others. I get to give it away. I get to. I don't have to. I get to. Nothing I have to do. If it doesn't stop my heart, it's not important. It's not. I'm having a heart attack. That's a little bit of a game changer for me. But other than that, it didn't stop me from going, right? I get to do a lot of things. And I'm, spiritually in the best place I've been. Physically in the best place I've been in a long time, since high school. Like, I wasn't this weight since high school. No joke. So I was a mess. At one point I was 260 pounds. I was showing signs of hypertension and high blood pressure and gout and all this stuff. Now I'm able to go out and run half marathons, 25K trail runs, do some crazy stuff. Like, I do some fun stuff. I did 3 half marathons in 3 days in 3 national parks. Fun. It's cool. You see things from a different view. You see Mother Nature, fresh air. It's hard, but guess what? I finished it. I did it. It was cool, you know. I get to live a better life, and I get to continue to improve. But my will gets me nowhere. What I want is probably not a good idea sometimes. I got to listen, seek counsel of other people. My sponsor, somebody in the program, a peer that I respect, somebody who's successful in my business. I got to seek counsel. If I don't seek counsel, I could end up back at the broken foundation again. Counsel's a big piece of this, and that's why that five, the other person, another person is meaningful. Am I doing on time here? Okay. Cover that? Yeah. Was that? I hopefully that was good. If it wasn't, let me know. I got other things I could talk about. But like this stuff is you want to dive into it. Detail. Even if it stings, and it's gonna sting, because that's where the growth is happening. If it hurts and it stinks a little bit, you're probably being real. And then you rip that Band-Aid off, get the weights lifted off you, and it gets a lot better. I'll leave it at that. How about that? All right.
Thank you. Okay, please limit your sharing to 3 minutes. Keep your shares related to the step if possible. If you feel like drinking, or if you had a drink today, please see me or speak to somebody after the meeting. We ask you please refrain from the use of profanity. We are in a church and on a spiritual journey. And the floor is now open for personal sharing.